Greetings everybody and welcome to our video presentation again today. We are talking about the 70 weeks of Daniel and the gap theory. This is a close look at the implications of the gap theory in light of the whole prophecy of the 70 weeks. Feel free to stop the video as you need to. We'll be covering the 70 weeks prophecy itself in a different video or set of videos. However, this is a very crucial prophecy, as we will see. Let's move along. All right, first we're looking at the structure of the 70-week prophecy. The 70 weeks are actually weeks of years where each day of each week represents a full year. Most every scholar believes on and interprets the prophecy this way. This same concept is seen in the book of Numbers, if you'd like to stop and read that verse. And this concept carried out makes the total time frame for this 70-week prophecy to be 490 years. All right, now we have the gap theory. This is viewed and interpreted by the majority of Bible scholars and theologians and such. So let's look at this theory. Okay? Now, many speculate a huge gap in the prophecy between week 69 and week 70, and put the 70th week sometime in our future, which would put us technically right now in the gap period. Okay? All right? This speculated future 70th week of this prophecy, it is believed to be the 7-year tribulation period to happen on earth. All right? So, everybody that believes that we're, close to the rapture and the 70th week and the tribulation period, the Antichrist, well, this 7-year tribulation period is believed to be the 70th week of Daniel, but it's only possible if there was a huge gap in the prophecy. However, nowhere in the prophecy is a gap mentioned, implied, referred to, or even remotely hinted at in any way, shape, matter, or form. The gap is complete and total and absolute 100% speculation. This is absolutely crucial to realize and understand this. Let's move along. Now, Daniel 9:26 is where the gap is inserted in the prophecy. It says, after the 62 weeks, an anointed one shall be cut off, and shall have nothing. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Its end shall come with a flood, and to the end there shall be war. Desolations are decreed. All right, it's a little hard to understand. We break this down in the other video here we're going to do on the 70 weeks. But we're just primarily concerned with what the implications of the gap theory are here in this little video. All right? So, an anointed being cut off is a reference to Jesus' crucifixion at Calvary, agreed by most scholars. Okay? Now, notice it says, after 69 weeks, and an anointed one shall be cut off. Like I said, everybody believes this is referring to Jesus, and that it'll happen after 69 weeks. All right? There's only two options to consider in regards to Jesus' crucifixion, as well as the church age in relation to the prophecy. And here it gets real crucial and somewhat technical, so pay close attention and stop the video to really look at this closely if you need to these next few pages. All right? Option one is, if there was a gap in the prophecy, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ at Calvary, and the church age would be in between the 69th and 70th weeks. Why? Because if it happens after the 69th week, and the 70th week is not till sometime in our future, we are in the gap period, and Jesus' crucial events of his crucifixion, this puts these crucial events in the gap, and therefore they are no part of the prophecy whatsoever. Why? Because they would be in the gap. Okay? Now, option two here. Option two is that without a gap, a straightforward interpretation puts Jesus' crucifixion in the first part of the church age in the 70th week of the prophecy, This beautiful harmony we will show later on. All right? If Jesus' crucifixion was to be in the gap, how could or would the following purposes stated as part of the prophecy be fulfilled in the prophecy, especially number 2 and 3? These are the following. Here are the 6 purposes of the prophecy from Daniel 9:24. And they are: to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin. What did Jesus say on the cross? When he died, right before he died, he said, "It is finished." He put an end to sin. All sacrifices for sin ended. And he atoned for iniquity, like purpose number 3 here. These things clearly, undeniably, unquestionably happen at Calvary. All right, number 4, to bring in everlasting righteousness. Number 5, to seal up the vision and prophecy. And number 6, to anoint the most holy. All right, back to the 2 clear ones. We explained these in the other video. These are all going to be explained to you. All right? But if Jesus' crucifixion is in the gap period, right, then crucifixion at Calvary that put an end to sin and atoned for iniquity would not be part of the prophecy. So if they are no part of the prophecy, then how could they be fulfilled as part of the prophecy? You see the problem here. This is huge. I can't emphasize that enough. So really stop and think about this. Look at this. Pray about this. And you'll see why this is such a problem when you see how I teach and show this prophecy interpreted without any gap in a straightforward manner. Makes perfect sense, as you will see. Like I said, the gap is speculated. There's nothing to indicate a gap. The prophecy is broken down into 3 parts. And there's no gap in the first parts. It was during the 70 years of the Babylonian captivity. There was no gap in that. It'd be like this. What if I talked to you on a Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock? And we were going to get together on Saturday at 4 o'clock. And I said, well, okay, I'll see you in 48 hours. From Thursday at 4 o'clock to Saturday at 4 o'clock. Saturday at 4 o'clock comes around, you're waiting at your house for me to show up. I don't show up at 4 o'clock. You're probably thinking, I wonder what happened. I hope he's okay. I don't show up at all. You're thinking, well, it's kind of inconsiderate of him to not call or whatever. Then if I show up at your house on Monday at 4 o'clock, you'd be going, well, what in the world's this guy doing? I'd say, oh, I forgot to tell you. There's a 2-day gap between hour 47 and 48. Which puts my arrival now, Monday, at 4 o'clock, due to this 2-day gap, which was never mentioned, never discussed, never talked to, remotely implied, or even hinted at. Yet, a gap is put in. This is exactly the same concept. That is why there's a gap, and we can see the enormous problematic implications of putting Calvary and the atonement and the end of sin that Jesus did on Calvary in the gap, forcing them completely out of and no part at all of the prophecy. Such is the devastating results of the gap theory. Let's move along. Because of those problems I mentioned associated with this gap theory, some contend that the word after in Daniel 9:26 is really meant to mean at the end of. Please focus clearly and very, very closely on this and stop and read it and look at it. 'Cause you got to see this to understand where I'm at with this. However, because there are several problems with this notion, let's look at them. Okay. The same exact Hebrew word that's used for after, which I'm advocating means exactly what it says, after. The same exact Hebrew word for after that people are saying means at the end of in Daniel 9:26 was also used by Daniel in 8:1, where it clearly can be taken at face value as meaning after and not to be taken as at the end of. Let me read Daniel 8:1. It says, "In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, after the one that appeared to me the first time." Undeniable. It means after. All right? Now, Daniel did use this phrase at the end of, and he used it 5 times in the book. And in each of these instances, a different Hebrew word is used than the one meaning after in 9:26. He never used the same word for after as in 9:26. So if 9:26 is really to mean at the end of, why didn't he use the same word? Surely Daniel would have used the words to mean at the end of at 9:26 as he did in all 5 other places, if this was his intent, but he did no such thing. In other words, you'd have this one oddball, out of the ordinary use of this word, totally out of harmony with everything in the rest of the book. All right? This is huge. Please look at this closely. We're going to move along, but stop it and look at it if you need to, because the implications of this are enormous. I can't emphasize how huge this is. All right, moving along. Now, this phrase at the end of appears 27 times in the Old Testament King James Version. When this was first pointed out to me, I thought, I better look at this, because if these people have a point in what they're saying here, then maybe this gap theory there could be something to it. Even if this were true, let's say, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for this moment here to advocate this little discussion here. Let's say they were correct. Still, there's no mention of a gap in the prophecy. And you'll see it still makes perfect sense to interpret it without a gap, as we will show. So I thought, okay, well, let's look up this phrase. I got a Bible program. You can look it up. I can type in at the end of, and I can look up that phrase every time in the Old Testament. It comes out 27 times in the Old Testament. However, not a single time in the 27 times this phrase at the end of appears in the entire Old Testament is the Hebrew word that's used in Daniel 9:26. What exactly does this mean? Well, those that advocate after in Daniel 9:26 actually means at the end of, they don't have a single verse in the entire Old Testament to support their assumption, no less the book of Daniel. They're trying to advocate something that doesn't appear. The translators didn't do it even one time. Okay, let's say out of the 27 times, maybe there was 3 times, or 2, or even 1 time. Okay, maybe there'd be a connection here. But not even a single time. It's a 0% support for this position that these people take. Enormous. Now, the gap theory and after really meaning at the end of have real difficulty with enormous implications, as I've been trying to say here. The gap theory puts Jesus' crucifixion between the 69th and 70th weeks, making it no part of the prophecy. This makes it virtually impossible for the main purposes of the prophecy to be fulfilled and the time frame of the prophecy. See the conflict here. The notion that after really means at the end of is without even a single verse of support, and it also greatly conflicts with the Hebrew word choice the author of the book of Daniel chose to use also. This only leaves us one option, and it's the right option, thank God. That is to interpret the prophecy as a continuous 70-week, 490-year prophecy. What does the prophecy speak of? It speaks of the end of transgressions, the end of sin, making an atonement. It's interesting because Matthew, I believe it was, asked Jesus, how many times shall I forgive my brother? 7 times? What did Jesus say? I think this is in Matthew 18 or 19. Jesus said up to 7 times? No, Jesus said forgive him 70 times 7. Well, what is 70 times 7? It's 490. Is it not very interesting that the numeric equation of forgiveness that Jesus used in regards to Peter's question is the exact same numeric equation that connects with this prophecy, which is also about forgiveness and redemption. All right? So the best way and the only way to interpret this prophecy is as a continuous 490-year prophecy. It makes perfect sense and shows a beautiful harmony with the purposes and the events stated in the prophecy, which you'll see in the next video. This will be revealed in the next presentation. Thank you so much for reviewing. Please pray about this. Look at this over again. Think it over, and look at the other video. And there's my email address. I'd love to hear from you. And have a great day. God bless you.